98th season. For what it's worth, they did blow the Nuggets a 19-point lead at one point in this game. Denver snapping their 14-game winning streak with that loss. They're now 1-5, by the way, all time in a best-of-7 series when it's tied at 1 apiece with home court advantage. Just something to keep in your back pocket. Meanwhile, as for the Wolves, they snapped their 4-game road losing streak in the playoffs. In Denver, their second home loss in the first round since 2023. We welcome in CBS Sports NBA analyst John Gonzalez. As this series, John, has so far been as advertised, the Wolves and Nuggets just not letting up in this game. We saw 15 lead changes, both of the guards going for 30 burgers. But it's the Wolves who end things up on the road with the win. But I want to get your biggest difference maker for the Minnesota down the stretch.
I mean, what a game, right? This is exactly, you called it. This is as advertised. This is why everybody flagged Wolves and Nuggets in the first round, and it's delivered so far. Game one, not as close, obviously, but to have 15 lead changes, and I think the biggest game changer for the Wolves for me, Dante DiVincenzo had a really good game. He was a little quieter in game one, but it's Anthony Edwards playing 40 minutes, right? I mean, you needed, as he mentioned it in post game, he said, well, I basically barely played basketball for a month. He had played 4 games before tonight. This is his 5th game in a month, right? And he had to knock off some of that rust. He was dealing with that knee injury. He goes for 30 and 10 tonight. Looked every bit the superstar that he has been for the Wolves and had led them to back-to-back Western Conference Finals. I had this series going 7. I was a little skeptical midway through this game, Kiana, where they were down 19. I'm thinking, man, are we even going to get that many games out of this thing? And now all of a sudden it's going back to Minnesota tied up. And this was an absolutely crucial performance by the Wolves because they have never won a series when they've been down 0-2. So now all of a sudden, this is exactly what we all thought was going to happen. These two teams going at it in the first round, and it looks like we're in for a really good series.
Also, I got to just throw in for those that were watching this game, but when in the first quarter you have Denver outscoring them 39-25, second quarter Minnesota outscores Denver by that exact same number. It was just a thrilling game and just going to show it is truly a game of runs. But I want to go back to, because you were talking about Anthony Edwards playing 40 minutes in this game, but one of the big themes entering game 2 was that Minnesota's others had to be better. Did this game prove that to you?
Yeah, and they were too, right? I mean, yes, it all starts with Anthony Edwards. And again, I'm circling that 40-minute mark because I didn't expect that they would get that many minutes out of him. And for him to go 40 minutes, all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, this is really good news for the Wolves. And this at least gives them a shot against a team that they're really evenly matched with. But yes, absolutely, the rest of the supporting cast has to be good. Now, Dante DiVincenzo has been sort of hit or miss this season for me. Tonight, he was excellent. 16 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Julius Randle also really stepped up. He goes for 24 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. And the big thing here was Julius Randle and Naz Reid had to spend some time guarding Nikola Jokic, who had a double-double, almost a triple-double tonight, because Rudy Gobert was in foul trouble. And Rudy Gobert, not the greatest game for him, no blocks, but in the fourth quarter when he comes back from that foul trouble, had a couple of series where it's not going to show up in the box score, but he had a couple of series where he was guarding Nikola Jokic and made him work and made him miss some buckets. And you're thinking, okay, not a great Rudy Gobert game, but at least after he comes back from foul trouble, he's contributing in his own way, right? And then Naz Reid, Ayo off the bench, Bones Highland even had 13 points. So yes, this was one of those games where that supporting cast, it wasn't all on Anthony Edwards, and they definitely helped him out tonight.
Maybe that's the recipe for success when we're looking at the rest of this series, but I want to dive just a little bit deeper in, because how much credit does Minnesota deserve just for hanging around after trailing at one point by 19 points, but also how much blame does Denver deserve just for not closing the door when they had the opportunities, plural?
Yeah, the Nuggets are probably going to be kicking themselves because they could have really put the Wolves up against it. Again, the Wolves have never won a series down 0-2. So the Nuggets, when they get on the plane to go to Minnesota, they're going to be thinking about this a little bit. Oh, man, we could have been up 2-0 going into Minnesota and really had a stranglehold on this series. But I really give the Wolves more credit than anything because 15 lead changes in this thing. It's going back and forth. Both teams are trying to land the knockout blow. Nobody gives up, and especially not the Wolves, who were down 19 and come roaring back to win this game on the road in Denver, a very difficult place to play. And they could have given up when you're down 19, right? They could have just said, "Oh man, this is not our night. This is not our series. We're not making it back to a third straight Western Conference Finals. We're not even making it out of the first round." And here's another thing that I wanted to flag. Not only did they fight back when they were down 19 and with all these lead changes, but they also they missed 11 free throws tonight, right? They win this game by 5, but they missed 11 free throws. That could have spelled doom for them. They are a bad free throw shooting team, and that's something that they've been trying to clean up all season. It's not going to change now, but they were 29th in the NBA in free throw shooting. That's not a place you want to be. And even on a night where once again they can't get their free throws to fall, they just keep grinding, they just keep coming at you. And that's a big win for the Wolves and a really good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Something worth noting, most definitely, that free throw shooting seemed like it was a big issue for them, especially earlier in the game. Started connecting there later down in the fourth quarter, but nonetheless, something they want to clean up against this Denver team. But it makes me want to ask, just piggybacking off of what you just said, just how significant is this result of Game 2 when now this series making its way to Minnesota, and considering just how intense and how physical this Game 2 was?
Yeah, it's huge, right? I mean, it's everything. It really might have spelled doom for the Wolves. Now, I know that they haven't won a series down 0-2 before. I suspect that going to Minnesota, they would have definitely made it a fight, but now it's 1-1. And as everybody knows, the series really starts when a team wins on the road, right? Well, they already got one on the road, and they got one that they probably are looking back on it and going, man, how did we pull that off, right? Down 19, and we get 40 minutes out of Ant, and Julius Randle looks good, and Jaden McDaniels chips in, and Dante DiVincenzo. And here's the other thing. The Nuggets were the hottest team in basketball finishing out the regular season, and then they win that first game of this series. They had won 13 in a row, so they snap a 13-game winning streak for the Nuggets in Denver, and now you're going back with all the momentum into Minnesota, where Ant looks like he's healthy, and all of a sudden you're thinking to yourself, okay, this could have been a really difficult series for us, but now we know that we're just as good as the other guys, and let's see what happens.
It's going to be very interesting how Denver responds, because you talk about that win streak. Could a loss like this be a little demoralizing? Do you bounce back? It's going to be very interesting, as we'll be waiting to see what happens is who takes the next punch in this series. John Gonzalez, I know you'll be all over it. Appreciate you. Well, take a look at this. What a run by the T-Wolves. Taking a look at this game, the largest comebacks in a playoff game. Wolves, the second largest on Monday night against the Nuggets, trailing by as many as 19. The only other time they had a larger comeback, guess who it was against? Oh, look at that. The Nuggets back in 2024 in the Western Semis. We'll see who punches back next as Game 3.
The Johns, again, that's CBS Sports NBA analyst John Henson and John Gonzalez. Now, Henson, the Nuggets enter Monday on a 13-game win streak. What stood out to you most about this streak?
Well, they're just finally healthy, right? They've gotten Braun and Hardaway back in the lineup. Cam Johnson finally looks comfortable. He's hitting threes. He kind of started off really slow this year. You know, for a new player to come into a championship team and integrate himself, when it does happen fast, it's awesome, but it usually takes time. And then on top of that, you've got a guy named Nikola Jokic who every time we bring his name up, it's either never been done or somehow Wilt Chamberlain's involved. So, and then we forget about Jamal Murray, who's got a couple 50-point playoff games, and down the stretch when they needed a bucket last year, he was the guy, actually, not Nikola Jokic. So this is a championship roster, a championship team, and we forget that, look, this kind of was the same makeup that won before. So I think they're right on time. They're healthy. They're looking good. They got a great new coach at Altman. UNC, shout out to my guys. We stole Malone, so we're going to see if that magic can work for us.
Yeah, we're running double Johns today, but really our thought process, if you were doing a Venn diagram of what we're thinking on this show, it's just a circle, because yet again, I'm in agreement with John. They're healthy, right? This is the Nuggets team that we've been waiting for all season, right? And even with all the injuries that they had, where Nikola Jokic misses a bunch of time, Christian Brown, Cam Johnson, Aaron Gordon, Peyton Watson still out, all the rest of those guys back. But even with all those injuries, still the number one offense in the NBA. They've won 13 in a row. They end up with the 3 seed. They're cruising, right? And now all of a sudden, everybody is back and together. And this is what we've been waiting for all season long. This is why they're so dangerous, and why I picked them to come out of the Western Conference. And a lot of people are like, okay, this is going to be a difficult road for them, but maybe because this is the deepest team and the most talented team that Nikola Jokic has ever had around him. And I want to call out Jamal Murray too, because while all these other injuries were happening, he was the one constant that really kept them afloat, Caroline, where he's an all-star. He's going to make all-NBA. It's the best season of his career. So all of this is coming together at the right time, and they're hot at the right time, and man, are they dangerous.
I mean, maybe there's something to sharing a name and also sharing a brain, because you're right. You guys are on the same wavelength. So, John Henson, how do you expect Murray and Jokic to build off game one? Or do you think they'll need someone else to step up?
Well, you always have those X factors, and from Bruce Brown to Hardaway to those guys, someone's going to end up swaying a game eventually. But right now, game two of the first round series, stay the course. You guys have won a championship. You've been in deep playoff runs. They both led their team in box score plus minus, so they had a positive effect on the game. Jokic had a triple-double. Murray didn't even make a three, but went 16 to 60 from the line. So that's just savvy vet type things, right? I'm not hitting shots. Let me get to the line, draw fouls. And, they're such an underrated two-man punch. Like, no one talks about them in the light they should. How, when the Splash Brothers were doing their thing, how we had the whole, maybe that's because we don't have a nickname for them. Maybe that's the problem. So we got to figure that out, me and John, when we get off air. But I think these two guys are going to stay the course and help this team get as far as they can. And with the guys helping around them, like John said, one of the deeper teams, kind of when you zoom out and look, that they've ever had. This Nuggets team is coming for the young boys that are on top.
Yeah, John's right. That two-man game is so good. I mean, we've seen it in previous iterations in the playoffs, right? They did win a championship together after all. Yeah. But again, for Jamal Murray to even raise his level, because forever the talking point was, well, Joker's never played with an all-star. Well, he has now, and he's going to play with an all-NBA selection as well. And that two-man game, they just understand each other so well, and they put so much pressure on the opposing defense. And yes, Joker goes for that triple-double. And Jamal Murray didn't really shoot the ball well from the field, but he was 16 for 16 from the line in game one, and he made big free throw after big free throw in pressure situations, and that is a skill. Getting to the line is a skill. SGA is the MVP in part because of that. Now, some people hate it. It's incredibly valuable, and he's not just getting to the line. He's, then you have to make them as well. It's not just getting the foul call. It's also converting it, right? Because that's what really actually puts pressure on the defense. So Murray's done that. He's really stepped up this season. They're a great team offensively overall. They have a lot of different ways that they can beat you, but those two guys are where it all starts. And to have that redundancy where you're going to get a good game from one of them, and if you get a good game from both of them, that's really putting the opposition up against it.
Well, John Henson, I'm going to give you homework, and you have to come up with a nickname for this duo because you put it out there.
That's the problem. We don't have a nickname for them, so we can't kind of like make it a national thing. So I'll have to figure that out.
Hey, you could start. You could be the first. Okay, John Gonzalez, though, I'm starting with you now. Anthony Edwards led the T-Wolves in game one with 22 points, despite this ongoing battle with his knee injury. So what do you expect out of his game two performance?
Yeah, he came out of that saying that he was fine, that he was rusty because they had some time off. They were locked into that 6th seed, so they didn't want to really push him. And he is dealing with that knee injury where he's only played 4 games in the last month, so that kind of contributes to it. But still, he goes for 22 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. His shot looked a little off. He only made 2 of his 9 threes, but it wasn't the problem in game one, right? I thought he moved well. He's always aggressive. They need him to be. They need him to be himself because they're dead in the water without him. I think they might be dead in the water with him, though, because back-to-back Western Conference finals, when you look at the road of the Western Conference or even in the Eastern Conference, I think the Wolves have the toughest playoff path of any team in the playoffs, right? I mean, having the Nuggets in the first round is a huge bummer. If the Nuggets had lost on the final day of the regular season, instead of beating the Spurs, the Lakers would have had the 3 seed and the Wolves would have been in business. They would have been thinking to themselves, thank God that we don't have to face the Nuggets. Unfortunately, they do have to face the Nuggets. So even if Ant stepping up just gets them into this conversation, without him, I think that this is a wrap.
Yeah, I a little concerned when you saw the video of him with both knee wraps, a towel. He looked like I look when I'm done playing at LA Fitness, and I'm 35 years old. So, yeah, he's played 75 games year over year plus in his last 4 or 5 years. You kind of saw, even when he caught off the bench, it took him a while to get going. I was watching it closely. He had a little bit of a kind of a gimp a little bit, just probably to warm those knees up. So I think he's played so much basketball with the Olympics that I think it's breaking his body down, and he's going to probably need to take a break this summer because, yes, he's still young, but he's not that young anymore. So that definitely concerns me because he is the spearhead of this Minnesota offense. They're so top heavy. They're so built around what he does. I worry how his body's going to hold up throughout this series, but I know he will be putting shots up and he will come to fight. And you're going to probably have to drag him out of the game if you want him to sit. So I'm not concerned necessarily now, but later in the series, I think that could have a big effect on the Timberwolves and if they're going to, beat this team.
Right, especially if he's playing all of these games that are going late into these series. Now, I do respect the LA Fitness Hooper, so don't bring slander to their name. But I do have a question. We'll start with you, John Henson. Who's going to bring it home in Game 2 if Minnesota is able to kind of turn this around?
I think I'm going to go Nuggets. You got a banged up superstar of Minnesota, and then you've got the hottest team in the NBA essentially in Denver Nuggets. They've got both their superstars looking like superstars, right? Jamal Murray sneakily had one of the best years of his career. Denver's also 8-0 when they win the first 2 games. I know that's on their mind. Look, we win the first 2 games. Hey, look, we're 8-0. We have never lost a series, and I can't see them beating Jokic in 4 out of 6. So that's kind of, I think, the mindset the Nuggets need to have. I think Jokic and Murray leading the charge, send the T-Wolves down 2-0, licking their wounds.
Yeah, I mean, if the Wolves are going to get back into this thing, I mean, look, I think you're going to get at least a full effort from Ant. We'll see how his body holds up, but they really need to get everybody involved, and they really didn't do that in Game 1. They needed to move the ball. The ball really got stuck in Game 1, just 21 assists on 40 made field goals. That's probably not going to get it done. They have a tendency sometimes to watch each other dribble the ball and like stand around a little bit. That was a problem actually last year in the first half of the season when they bring in Julius Randle. And with Julius Randle, the way he played in New York, the ball went in, the ball did not come out. Now he changed that in the second half last year, and all of a sudden they took off, right? They make it to the Western Conference Finals again. Randle was much better at facilitating. He only had 2 assists in Game 1 of this series, so he has to be better. They all have to be better, really, because Ant led the team with 7 assists. After that, it was Jaden McDaniels with 3, and after that, nobody else had more than 2. So less standing around watching everybody else go to work. Maybe the Wolves will be on to something.
Yeah, I mean, not for nothing. Minnesota is 0-6 in first-round playoff series when losing the first 2 games. So just something to watch. They might need a little morale booster
This
tonight.
is a must-win. This is a must-win.
John Henson, John Gonzalez, thank you very much. And just looking at this now, Minnesota has made back-to-back conference finals the last 2 years before losing out. So they're trying to avoid a first-round playoffs loss this season like they had back in